drinking. And let's kind of put this as a continuum. That at one end of this continuum, hypothetical, is kind of a permissive stance in kind of what we might say and do around teenage drinking. At the other end is going to be a non-permissive. But what might a permissive stance sound like? Well, I don't want you drinking, but, I was your age once, and I know kids are going to do what they're going to do, and so I want you to be safe with it or responsible, or I want you to drink in moderation. Okay. So that's what a permissive message might sound like. Now, on the other end of the continuum, we've got a non-permissive stance. What is that going to sound like? Yeah, don't drink. I don't want you drinking. Period. Now, may I share an observation? Okay, here's the observation. That most parents, in fact, I would say just about all parents start off, I don't want you drinking, right? Parents start off with that, right? And then they put the but in there. Now, teen brain, okay, still developing that hardware, thinking ahead, planning ahead. What are teenagers going to hear with this message right here? What are they going to hear? They're going to hear green light. They're going to hear go ahead and drink. They're going to hear everything after the but, basically. They're not going to hear I don't want you drinking. So although a lot of parents start off with that as a good instinct, what we want to encourage parents to do, and family members and grandparents and aunts and uncles, is we want to encourage them to start off with their instinct and then put the period on it with ending with I don't want you drinking, period. And here's why, folks. Then we might have parents, they're not really sure their stance. Who might be in the middle on this continuum? The data could not be more clear on this. The data could not be more clear that when parents and caregivers strike a non-permissive stance, that is a huge protective influence with young people's choices on drinking. Because you know what? Young people, they may decide to drink. They may decide to go ahead and drink. That's up to them. That is their choice. However, when we draw the line in the sand as caring involved adults, it allows teenagers to better navigate those situations where they might be exposed to alcohol. It might be at a party. They might be offered up some alcohol. It allows them to come away more frequently from the situations when they have a clear stance. When we give them, very unwittingly, the green light, we're not condoning drinking. We're not saying go out and drink. Nobody is saying that. Maybe a handful of people in the community, but parents are just not saying, go ahead and go drink. Some parents might be, but most parents aren't. But when we put the but in the message, it puts kids at risk for drinking. Now, what about undecided? Parents, they're not sure what their stance are. They don't communicate really clearly one way or the other. Is it going to be a protective influence or is it going to be a risk influence? It's a risk influence. Again, the teen brain does not handle that ambiguity very well. It just doesn't at this point. We got some data on this. My parents set clear rules. This isn't even about drinking. This is just clear rules. The monthly drinkers, about a quarter of them are saying, yeah, my parents have clear rules. The abstainers, twice as many, are saying, yeah, my parents have clear rules. But now let's go to parent message. Parent message, and this is what the kids are hearing on the survey. Parent message, it's very wrong to drink monthly. Well, not coincidentally, a quarter of the monthly drinkers are saying they're getting that message from their parents. The abstainers, on the other hand, folks, this is the biggest margin of difference between the monthly drinkers and the abstainers. That when parents clearly say, I don't want you drinking, it translates into kids not drinking. It's not a perfect correlation, but it translates into less risk for young people. And this is one thing, folks, that we have 100% control over. There's not much we have control over when it comes to teens and behavior, because increasingly they are making their own choices. But we absolutely have our own choice, collectively here in this room, as a community, and individually here, what your stance is, what your line is in the stand. And if there's one thing you take from here, it's to move towards that non-permissive end of the continuum and to get real clear and concrete about where you're coming from. Drug-free schools, schools that draw that line in the sand and are unambiguous about the school rule, are a source of protection. Again, the rates really vary from double as much use to 4 and 5 times as much use by alcohol, cigarettes, marijuana, high school students who are in schools that are not drug-free. Drug-free schools have a powerful protective influence on young people. It's the same principle as with parents. Now, accountability. And this is the last and final principle, accountability, that kids are making their own choices, right? And let's say it comes to your attention in the school, it comes to your attention in the community-based program that you're working in treatment, it comes to your attention at home, maybe as a parent. What to do? That, folks, the teen brain, it's a work in progress, but it's learning every single day. These young people are learning amazing things. And so it is a wonderful opportunity for young people to learn where is the line. They might be testing it, pretty normative. And when there's a consequence for drinking, that's immediate, that's firm, but fair, and that's consistent, kids are way less likely to return to the substance use. It brings that risk down quite a bit. Now, given kind of a criteria for a good consequence, firm but fair, a reasonable consequence, consistent. So in other words, people are able to deliver it. And the sooner the better after an incident comes to light. I want you to turn to your neighbor for one final kind of neighborly discussion. What are some consequences at home, at school, in the community that help to get young people's attention? What are some of the consequences that you're aware of that can help get young people's attention about their choices on drinking? Go ahead and take a moment with your neighbors, and then we're going to check out on that. Ooh, good question. Yeah. Mm-hmm. What are y'all coming up with?
Take away their cell phone, computer use, and I know we said cell phones are big ones.
That'll get our attention, huh? Good. 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 Good, good, good. Yeah, sure. Yeah.
The saying no drinking,
Yeah.
and then worrying about your kid if they're in a bad situation.
Yeah.
How do you address that?
Yeah, that's tricky. We can talk a little bit about that. Yeah, Good.
I have a question.
Hi.
We've talked about, having a clear cut, you are not allowed to drink. The issue that I think a lot of people struggle with is the drinking and driving.
Yes.
So then I think a lot of people want to say, you can't drink, but if a friend of yours or you have had too much, you need to call us so we can...
We'll handle that.
That's a permission.
We'll handle that.
Okay.
Because that's coming up all over.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay, everybody. Wow, a lot of really great ideas going around here. And, to preface this, imposing a consequence, it's not fun for anybody, right? It's not fun for us as adults, caring, supportive, to impose a consequence. We'd much rather do reward and compliments and positive reinforcement. And yet, this is so critical for young people's learning, and they are very much learners. This stage of development